Hello and welcome to our webinar regarding our honors program. We're so excited that you're here and we have some great panelists for you to hear from, both on the faculty side and the student side. My name is Carrie Durbin. I am a director of admission and I'll just be managing sort of the background of the webinar. I'll let my colleague Brady introduce himself.
Excuse me. Hi, I'm Brady. I'm one of our admission counselors here. I work primarily with students on kind of all the things, getting ready for your college decision and anything that happens between high school and actually stepping foot on campus. I work primarily with students from northern Minnesota, as well as Nebraska, Arizona, and Alaska.
Thanks, Brady. I'll let our panelists introduce themselves in just a second. Just a couple of quick housekeeping items for you. We did copy down the questions that you submitted on your registration form. So our panelists do have those questions. If other questions come up while you're in our webinar, please feel free to use the Q&A section. It should be near the bottom of your screen. Between Brady and I, we will also be sending you some links via the chat function. So if Jacob, Eileen, and Dr. Wengler talk about something and we want to make sure you have that link on our website as to where to find that, we will pop those links into the chat function. So without further ado, I am going to turn this over to Dr. Wengler and our honors students, and they can introduce themselves and get started.
Hello, welcome to the Honor Scholars webinar. I'm Dr. Beth Wengler. I'm the Director of Honor Scholars, and I'm a professor of history here. And I'm very excited to talk to you about the honors program tonight. I'm also very pleased to share the stage with two senior honor scholars, Eileen and Jacob, and I'm going to let them quick introduce themselves too.
Hi, I'm Jacob Gecki. Like Professor Wengler said, I'm a senior honor scholar. I'm a math and English double major from Omaha, Nebraska.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eileen Otto. I'm also a senior honors scholar. I'm studying political science and communications here at St. Ben's and St. John's, and I'm from Delano, Minnesota.
Thank you. So I'm going to just take a few minutes and tell you a little bit about what Honor Scholars is about, what our kind of mission and goals are, and what makes it special. And so very briefly, Honor Scholars really is about transforming ideas into action. So this is a program for students who want to make positive change in their world using their talents and their learning, and to do it now while they're in college. So you might wonder what that looks like. Well, I'm going to tell you what it doesn't look like. Our honors program is different from high school honors. In high school, you can take a course here, you can take a course there, and they're not necessarily related to each other or connected. Our program, all of the courses connect to one another. High school honors courses tend to have a heavier workload than regular courses. They tend to be test-oriented and focused on individual achievement. Our Honors Scholars program is a learning community for academically talented and high-achieving students. Our classes are small. They promote social interaction and encourage trust and collaboration among students. You get to know your students in your cohort pretty well over the course of 4 years. And that, I think, is a benefit. And the students, I'm sure, will talk about that. We know that our honor scholars are going to graduate and become leaders in their communities and workplaces. So the 5 courses that make up the Honor Scholars program are designed to prepare you to do that. Someone asked if they're extra courses on top of other things. They're not on top of your other courses. In fact, honors courses fulfill many graduation requirements that you are unlikely to bring in from AP or PSEO. So there's not, so that, you know, your commitments are to an academic program. There are a wide variety of topics for each of the 5 courses. So, you know, you'll be able to select from among them. And all of them are courses you can only take in Honor Scholars. And as I said earlier, they build on each other. So you will take them with your cohort, get to know the other honor scholars very well as you collaborate with each other using your individual talents and your knowledge from your major, as well as your shared knowledge from your honors courses. And I want to make it clear too that Honor Scholars is a truly liberal arts program. It is shaped and strengthened by the diversity of interests and majors of our students. So students from all majors participate. And I think that's one of the things that makes it really special, especially as, you know, in the junior and senior years, you're going to be working with each other on projects that involve community-based learning. That is an experience in which students are going to research and design projects that meet a real need in our local community. And part of that is working with local nonprofits to do that, and something that both Eileen and Jacob have participated in. So it's, you know, it's a form of experiential learning and working, you know, doing some real world work that happens outside of the classroom, but is actually built into the courses themselves. So I've kind of given you an overview. I would like to turn it over to Eileen and Jacob so that they can talk about the student experience, because that's really what you want to know. So take it away.
Okay, I will go first. So like I said, I'm a senior, I'm a political science and communications major. And one thing that Dr. Wengler just said that really stuck out to me was just talking about the cohort and the experience of meeting all these people freshman year and moving up in the ranks all the way to senior year, and just continuing to have these really important educational experiences with the same people over and over again. And so that's been one of the highlights for me. Another one has been, I have just been exposed to just about every field that's out there through the honors program, really through that liberal arts lens as well, especially with people I would have never taken classes with. So Jacob is a math major, but there's other people out there as well too, different STEM majors that I would have never been. We would have never found ourselves in a biology class together, for example. And so it's been really great to kind of see that diversity of thought and diversity of opinion in a space that's like really trusting and like caring, and you get to know these people super, super well. So I will let Jacob say something and then we can go back and forth there, however. So
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to emphasize like what Eileen was saying about the cohort being the highlight of the program, I think is really definitely true for me as well. I feel like in other classes throughout high school, I had group projects that were just tough because the rest of the group wasn't chipping in and doing their part. And I've never had that happen in the honors program in college, and it's been awesome. I think the biggest highlight for me outside of just the group we've been with has been that cumulative like final honors project we did at the end of this past year. And it's not your traditional project where you're like preparing a big presentation for the end of the semester and it's super stressful. My group's project was to create mental health training resources for the staff at the Boys and Girls Club Central Minnesota. And so our group in particular, we created videos to accompany their training sessions that they're actually using right now this spring. And we started doing research for that in my junior year, so in the fall of my junior year, in my junior year honors course, and we continued that into my senior year here. And it was a really good experience where we had the freedom, and I'm really glad that we had the freedom to do what the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Minnesota asked us to do. So there wasn't set guidelines from the honors program on like, we need you to do this. The only instructions that we really had was, we need you to do what they're asking you to do to the best of your ability. And that was just an incredible, awesome experience. So I throw it back to Eileen if she has more to add.
Okay, well, I can talk a little bit about my project. I'm currently, I think Jacob took honors, the last honors one last semester, and I'm taking it right now. So he has more of maybe the experience of what it's like to have this project be done. I'm kind of in the midst of it right now. But I with a group of 3 other honors students, we researched the history of racial covenants in Stearns County. And so for those of you who don't know what racial covenants are, they're essentially language in a housing deed that says who can or cannot live there. And so when these build up over time and in places that are exclusionary towards maybe people of color, or certain subgroups, it can have really harmful effects. And so we looked in Stearns County. We started it last semester, our junior year, and I'm super lucky to be able to continue working with these same people this semester as well. And so our community partner is the Stearns County History Museum. And I'll, again, like Jacob said so well, we're really just doing what they're asking us to do. And I appreciate, I've had 2 different profs to kind of pull this project forward with us, and both of them have been really great about saying, this is your project at the end of the day, and we're really just advisors versus taking on a professor type role where they're teaching us. We're kind of teaching ourselves, teaching the community, and the community is teaching us right back as well. So super great. I'm really enjoying it. I'm excited to see what it'll look like when I'm done. And yeah, and like I said before, I'm doing this project with, I think, a biochem major and somebody else. They're both in STEM, which is very unique to have that kind of opportunity too. So yeah. Jacob?
I just want to quick add that Eileen's project got a bit of notoriety and was the subject of a Minnesota Public Radio story. I'm putting the link in the chat if you're interested in reading that at some point. But yeah, quite a lot of buzz. It's and the Stearns History Museum is quite excited to be able to showcase their work. And I'll tell you, I also want to say that last semester I went to the presentation where Jacob's group presented their video project for the training of Boys and Girls Club staffers to I don't know what Jerry's title is, but she's like the vice president or the president of the Boys and Girls Clubs.
Yeah, I think so.
And she couldn't have been more, grateful and excited about the work that our students did, because it's something that she couldn't do. She didn't have the staff to do it. But here our students offered their time, their learning, the resources that we have at the colleges, and man, it made a real difference. And I have to say, that's exactly what we wanted when we dreamed up this program about 6-7 years ago. Okay, now I'll stop.
Yeah, I remember after that presentation, I went up to Professor Wengler and I told her this was the highlight of my academic experience at St. Ben's at St. John's. I just remember that now. So if that tells you anything about joining the honors program, take that as you will. I want to talk a little bit too, maybe about the courses before starting that community engaged project. And I think what's been really awesome for me, on top of, you take kind of the same classes, or you take the courses with the same people throughout your 4 years, but you're taking classes with professors who kind of get to choose the subject area they're teaching, and they're really, really passionate about it. I think one class in particular was a class about incarceration in the United States that I took my first year. And we were still on Zoom at that point. Some of us were in the classroom and some people were on Zoom. And even with that weird setup where we were all distanced from each other, we got just the passion of the professor in that class. And I learned so much more than I had ever previously anticipated. Another part of that class was going back to the community aspect of the honors program. Is there was a group of us taking that class together, and when we had breaks throughout the class, we had a different schedule my first year, so we had time for breaks within the class, but we'd go and take a walk around campus for a little bit, for 10-15 minutes, and I just don't think that is something that would happen normally in another class where you might not know each other as well or anything like that. But that really it continues to kind of stick with me today.
I think Jacob just had a good segue, because I also vividly remember before a class that Jacob and I took together, how our entire group would get lunch at the refectory, which is the St. John's dining hall, before class every single day. So that was just a really sweet, I absolutely love our honors cohort as well. I did want to mention, I think there was a question about like taking classes outside or how well it fulfills the curriculum. And as a senior in the spring semester, we've been doing a lot of time reflecting back and looking at what our classes have been and themes and things like that, just to make sure we're all on the same page for graduation and really coming up with this end of year paper that kind of tells us about where we've been in our past 4 years. And the honors curriculum fulfilled just about everything I would have needed for certain aspects of the integrations curriculum, which is super, super nice. And I'll echo what Jacob said. I took classes about transatlantic slavery in the history department. I took a mathematics and gender course, which combined, I think it was philosophy and math. And so things I would have never taken as a poli-sci major, which I really appreciate as well. And the honors program also, and Jacob can talk about this too, really does leave a lot of time outside of just the classroom to do a lot of other things. It's not an additional class that you're taking on top of all your other classes. It's really integrated into the rest of your courses. And so you are able to do all sorts of things. And so, for example, I'm a managing editor at our school paper, which is called The Record. Jacob has a lot of experience in as well. And so those are really long nights, and I've never felt as though honors was adding extra work on for me at all. It's really super, really, I don't know, well done in that regard. So.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it's the time commitment for the honors program is kind of just as much as you would expect for a regular college class, in my experience. I also run cross country and track, and that hasn't been an issue for me at all, with just that kind of significant athletic commitment. But it's in that regard, it's just like every other class. You should expect a similar workload and hopefully just an awesome overall experience.
I think that's a really good point. That honors it's right. It's not about like more work or, it's really it's about a different way of learning. It's like with the classes are smaller. There's more, kind of discussion, professors want to work with students and have students, input. So it's not, it's a different way it's just a different way of working. It's not more work necessarily, but it does, it actually illustrates how much our faculty really do value those kinds of interactions with students, doing work with them on these projects. And yeah, that's I think that's an important distinction between honors in college and honors in high school.
I think with that just aspect of it's not more, but you're challenged in a different way. And I think that's kind of where the beauty of the program lies. I have to consider different opinions. I have to look at things differently than I ever looked at before. I have to think about big problems that don't have an easy answer. And I think that to me has been what's made it really academically interesting.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Jacob you guys have both left me a little bit speechless, but I do agree with what Jacob said. It's not as if I'm expecting super hard tests when I walk into a honors class, or I'm going to write these super long papers or anything, but really the discussion elements of the class is where most of the challenge has come for me. And it's only challenged me to become a better person and really grow in my beliefs and who I listen to and things like that. And so I appreciate it in that sense for sure.
So I'm not sure if if we have other questions. Maybe I'm missing something. Oh, is it similar?
Nope, I just see Bianca asked a question. And it was a question that she had put on her registration form as well, but she logged in just a little bit late. So is your honor scholar similar to high school student ambassador or student council? So if you can address that.
Go ahead, Eileen, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, in my experience, it hasn't been at all. The people who are involved in honors do tend to be people who are also really involved on campus as well. And so I think you could talk to any student who's part of the honors program, and they would tell you all the long list of everything that they're involved in as well. We do have a student senate that is different and completely different than the honors program as well, which might remind you a little bit more of a student council.
So in addition to, the honors program, I mean, there are lots of ways that you can, get involved in, we have lots of academic opportunities. So, and you can do these, while you're doing honors too. Study abroad, for example, many of our students will study abroad for a semester, and that is, something that we definitely encourage students to do. Undergraduate research, we just won a big award, a national award for undergraduate research. And at a liberal arts college, faculty come here, we're not interested in having graduate students. What we want to do is work with undergraduate students. So work with students on our research and involving our students in the research that we're doing. So it offers opportunities that are very, they're for undergraduate students that you wouldn't necessarily get at a large university where there are graduate programs. And here, we really do want to work with our students, mentor our undergraduate students. And I think that's a very strong distinction between us and like a larger institution.
Any other questions that you have, please feel free to use that Q&A area on your screen. It should be in the lower part of your screen. I'm just looking through the questions from the registration forms, and I think we've hit all of them. I wonder if you could talk a little more about your capstone, or if you've done an honors thesis or a capstone project, or just talk a little more about the time that it took to do that for you.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about the idea of like an honors thesis, which lies kind of outside of the honors program. So the honors program is kind of that final community project that both Eileen and I talked about. I'm working on an honors thesis right now that's actually kind of a lot of which came from ideas that came up in the gender and math class that Eileen mentioned earlier. So I'm a math and English double major, but I'm doing a thesis in English about math films. And so that process is, for me, kind of looked like in the spring of my junior year, I found an advisor in the English department who I'm working with now. And then actually my two readers for my thesis are the two professors that co-taught the honors class that I took, gender and math, and Professor Erica Stone Street and Professor Robert Campbell. And so I think really and then throughout this year, I've been working to write the thesis and doing research and everything, and getting feedback from both my main advisor and then the two readers that I took the honors class with. But that kind of goes with the kind of imparting their passion for the subject on me. I definitely got from that class. And the honors program kind of affords you that ability to dig a little bit deeper in with the professors that you're taking the classes with. They're a little bit more willing to maybe challenge what you say in class, and you can challenge what they say in class a little bit more. And I think that really has been super fruitful. And for me now, as I'm trying to argue my, stake my case for while I'm working on my thesis.
Okay, I'm not sure if I fit in this category at all. I'm not doing an honors thesis like Jacob said, and I'm in the middle of that project that we're doing in the honors program. But I recently finished my political science capstone last semester, which was about the effect of party politics or partisanship on national crisis, with specifically looking at the COVID-19 pandemic. And so that was great. I will definitely echo again what Jacob said in talking about the way that the honors program works. You do get really close to your professors, and they kind of, those first 2 years for me definitely set the stage of how I think about professor-student relationships. And so one of the reasons I was so interested in this topic, talking about national crises and patriotism in general, was just the result of developing relationships with professors over the years and asking them what they're interested in, learning more about what I was interested in, and then eventually deciding to kind of take this idea and run with it. And so although it's not a direct result of the honors program whatsoever, but it definitely did help me build relationships with my professors too.
Thank you both for that. I do see another question that has come in. Do other colleges have similar programs to what our Honors Scholar program is? Might be a little harder to answer if you've not been in another college's honors program, but
I can say that, knowing something about like honors programs generally, it's like, I think collegiate honors programs are certainly different from honors in high school. But I think one of the things that we really wanted to do when we designed this program, and Eileen and Jacob are in the first cohort of graduates from this program. We really wanted it to have something, we wanted a real program where students would, and we wanted a real program for the kinds of students that we, St. Ben's and St. John's tends to attract. Students that are doers, that want to get out there and use what they know and make the world a better place. I mean, these are the kinds of students that, we saw often in our honors courses, and we thought we want to design a program that's going to really help them do the stuff they want to do. And so our program is, I think, unique in that sense, is that we built it based on our students.
thanks, Beth. I do have a question that came in on a later registration form that I wasn't able to send to you ahead of time. And it's a series of 3 questions, but they sort of all tie in together. How does registration work when you're registering for this particular program? Does housing work the same way as if we weren't in honors? So do you have special honors housing, or is that separate? And can you give an overview of sort of what your day looks like with an honors class in it? And I think you've provided some of that information, but if you can talk about sort of a day in the life, that would be helpful.
Okay, I can go. So maybe Terry might have to remind me eventually what all 3 of the questions were, but in terms of registration, it's been really easy to kind of work around the honors program and fit it into my schedule altogether. I do take a lot of credits, but I've always had space for the honors program, which is really nice, partially because it does fulfill so many of the curriculum requirements. The one thing I did just have to make sure I was on top of is when I studied abroad. I just had to make sure that when I came back from Greece, I had an honors program spot waiting for me, which was great, very easy. The professors and registration is very easy to manage as well. In terms of day in the life, I'm in an honors program or class right now, as I mentioned, which is in the afternoons, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And so for me, it's been great. It's been a lot of independent work. We basically go to class with this particular professor. We read articles ahead of time, most of which, because we're seniors, kind of ask us to reflect on our mindset, our worldview, and also more so of like what a liberal arts education really means to us. And so we're kind of getting at this beast of a liberal arts education that I'm not sure a lot of people can really define. And so that's been a big focus in our class. As we start moving into more of the work time for our community engaged learning project, so as I dive back into the whole racial covenants research, I have had a lot of super independent work time, and I'm in a group of 5. And so throughout this whole week has just been, instead of going to class, we will just meet at the library, or we'll meet over somewhere in the main building at St. Ben's, and we'll just work for like 1 or 2 hours, just trying to get closer to our goal of our portfolio that we'll give to the Stearns County History Museum at the end of the semester. So yeah, and then I go do everything else I do on campus, which is great.
Yeah, in terms of whether there's special honors housing on campus, there's not. And honestly, I think it's probably a good thing in terms of getting to know other people as your classes as well. I think that's part of what you're looking for at St. Ben's and St. John's, is you're not going to fall into one category, one group, and that's going to be the group you move with. I think there's different components of your education and your community experience that you get through just kind of living with everyone as you come. in terms of what my honors class kind of looked like in the fall, it was similar to Eileen's. Early on the semester, before we could contact our community partners, we were doing a lot of kind of thought-provoking readings and a little bit of preparatory research before working with our community partners. And then, like Eileen also said, we had lots of independent work time, especially near the end of the semester. So my group was doing a lot of writing a script for our training video and then actually recording the training video itself. And we were, again, afforded the freedom to just do what we needed to do for that project.
Yeah, I'll just quickly add to what Jacob said. I really agree with what he talked about it's honestly a good thing that we don't have kind of like an honors community living. There are community living groups across campus, but it's been great. I love having the honors program and kind of our cohort be another social group for me, and for it to be another group of friends that I've made on campus, and I know that they'll be there as I move my way through these 4 years. And then I also have my other friends, and I have my roommates, and I have the people I work at the record with, the school paper, people I work at the sustainability office with, people I work with on campus. And so it's just great to have all these different social groups versus kind of relying on one person. And that's really, I think, the beauty of what Jacob said about St. Ben's and St. John's. So.
And I'll just add one thing. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna have you touch on the registration question, just
Sure.
the 5 courses and how they're spread out through the 4 years.
Yep. So first of all, I would say, we understand honor students are often very busy. They're doing, a major, a minor, this and a that. And so one of the things that our honor scholars will register first for courses. So that's one thing that kind of eases registration. The other thing is that the 5 courses calibrate, like they connect with graduation requirements, so that all students will need to take, for example, a learning foundations course in their first year. Honor students take one that's specifically for honor students. And so the first year, in fact, you'll be placed in an honors learning foundations course. And then the second semester, the second honors course, you'll choose from the variety of different topics. And so for that course, which is also fulfills a requirement for graduation. In your sophomore year, you'll take one of the team taught courses, and this is very unique to honor scholars. We pair faculty from 2 really very different disciplines. So, for example, this semester I teach a course. As I said, I'm a history professor. I teach a course with a biology professor on scientific controversies. So we work together to develop that. As it sounds like Jacob took gender and math, a philosophy prof and a math prof. We've got a number of courses. I don't know, which one did you take, Eileen?
I was in the same one as Jacob. So I took the gender and math one too. Yeah.
We have a few ones that are artistic expression. So we have one, we've got a faculty from creative writing working with a philosopher, and another with art historian working with a communications professor on art. One is on art and propaganda. The other is on the art of social change. And so they count for a couple of different requirements, just taking one class. And so, and that also helps you, these courses help you to think about, the relationships between the different disciplines. And I think that's also critical for, working in the world, is knowing how different disciplines, different majors solve problems, because you're going to have to do that. You'll be working together your junior and senior year with students from different majors, and you're going to be working together to solve a big problem that doesn't have an easy answer. So that's those junior and senior courses. You take one your junior, one your senior year, and they are related, since both of them do involve community engaged learning. So it works, we offer multiple sections. So if you can't, take a course in the fall, there's going to be one in the spring. So it's, that's what makes it possible to go on study abroad and, take and do other things. So that's kind of how registration works.
Thanks. I think we've captured all the questions from the registration forms. And if there are additional questions for those of you that have joined us, please feel free to drop those into the Q&A section. I will tell you, I am recording this, and so we will send this recording out to all of you that are in attendance. It'll allow you to go back, especially if you logged in a little bit late. It will allow you to go back and watch the beginning where I know Dr. Wengler sort of introduced the program itself, and Jacob and Eileen talked a little more about their experiences in it. We do have another question that has popped in. Are all class years allowed to be in this program, freshman through senior?
Yes, students start their the program in their first year, in the first semester. And it's basically, after the first year, we've got 2 courses. It's basically 1 course a year. So yes, it's a 4-year program.
Any last questions from our attendees? Otherwise, I'll ask for any last advice for all of you from our panelists. Sort of why should you join the Honor Scholars Program?
I think for me, above everything else, I think number 1 for me is the community aspect that we talked about, which you'll hear a lot about in just St. Ben, St. John's in general, but just the ability to work with a lot of high performing students and highly driven students that you won't get anywhere else. And then the second thing is the idea of being challenged. I think that I brought up earlier as well. And just, you're not, I think the reason why you're going to college is to develop yourself further and to prepare yourself for a job in the future. And this kind of allows you to do it in an environment where you're being supported, but also being challenged by the people around you. And I think that will build you into a really strong person and a really good person that will make you prepare you for whatever comes in the future.
I don't know how I could possibly top that. So I think that I am so grateful that I joined the honors program, and it really truly has been like one of the best parts about my entire 4 years here at St. Ben's and St. John's. Everything we've talked about, from the cohort to, exposing yourself to different disciplines, to working with people that are different from you, really have set me up for success in future jobs or careers that I might take as well. So I really appreciate everything that I've learned, and I think it's one of the best, easiest decisions you could probably make when you come here.
Thanks. It's great to hear. And I do often get asked the question, right? What is this, what's the benefit? Like, how is this going to pay off later? Is it something to put on my resume? And I would say in and of itself, no. But you know what is? The fact that you've been working on projects that are actual real world projects that where you've even before you leave college, you're taking what you learned and starting to apply it in, real world ways. You're working with people from all different perspectives, different backgrounds. You're working on projects with organizations you may not have heard of before, but like these are the kinds of things you do in the real world, right? The really tough problems are going to be problems where you're going to need to bring in people from all different perspectives, people with different strengths and knowledge base. And so you're getting that in, I think, in an environment where you can test things out, and also where we know that, we trust our students to no, you'll do what needs to be done. And so I think it's a great, it's something that when when you're looking for a job and you have an interview, or if on your medical school applications, you can say like, hey, this is something that I've done. This is something that is real. It's not, you know, it's, it wasn't an essay for a class, but it was a project. And this is, you know, who we worked with, and this is the deliverable we provided. That's, I think, something that's really, I think that's what you put on your resume. That's what you talk about in an interview.
Yeah, for sure. I do see another question come in, and it's sort of related to the registration. With this program being those 5 courses, do those courses get added on as extras to the tuition, or are they just part of your regular tuition?
This is just it's not extra. You don't have to pay extra to be in honors. It's free, I suppose, in that respect. And yeah, you if once you RSVP to the program, once you say you want to be part of Honor Scholars, you'll have no problem registering for your courses. You'll be one of the things that academic advising, our Office of Academic Advising, will do, they will place you in that first honors course, so you'll be ready to go.
And if you're unsure if you've RSVP'd already for the program, just reach out to your admission counselor. We can double check that and make sure that you have. Yes, so may you define RSVP. There was an invitation sent out to all students who met sort of the definition of what we see in our honor scholars. You would have received an email invitation, and you had the chance to just click on a form within that email to RSVP and say, should you choose St. Ben's and St. John's, that you're interested in participating in the honors program. And we can double check that for you to make sure that you have in fact RSVP'd.
Yes.
I know this particular student is working with one of my colleagues who is so excited that she was going to be on the program. So we will make sure that we get that taken care of. All right, with that, I think we can wrap it up. We've spent 45 minutes of our evening talking about honors, and I want to go read the NPR story on Eileen's project. I actually didn't know that was even out there. So I will tell you from my perspective for honors, my biggest regret is that I did not spend all 4 years in our honors program when I was a student here. I did my first year and then I stepped out of it. And I'm thrilled that mine did all 4 years. And I love that I know people who are like Eileen used to work in our office, and I know what she's gaining from this program. So it's a phenomenal opportunity. And from an admission perspective, an alum perspective, and a parent perspective, I would say, please, if you are coming to St. Ben's and St. John's and have been invited, it's a great program to join. Thank you so much for your time. Dr. Wengler, Jacob, Eileen, thank you so much for spending time with us tonight. If you have logged on tonight, you will get a copy of the recording. It'll be just a few days before we get that out, but we will get that sent to you. Have a great rest of your night and keep asking questions as they come up. Let your admission counselor know, call the admission office, reach out to our students and our faculty. Thanks.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for being here.